In an era of health consciousness, it seems insane to put a power station just 3 kilometres from the heart of a city. But to fulfill the ever-growing demand of Sydney's public transport networks, White Bay Power Station was a necessity for the city in the early 1900s. After 66 years of faithful service, this power station was decommissioned on Christmas Day of 1983 and has laid dormant ever since. When thinking of Sydney, not many people think of White Bay. It's a non-picturesque, flat, concrete industrial area surrounded by derelict, abandoned buildings, one of which was the aforementioned White Bay Power Station. But for the Walt Disney Company, this made for the perfect canvas. A non-picturesque flat concrete land could easily be transformed into a bustling boardwalk with outdoor cafes, restaurants, neighborhood parks, a marina, hotels, and a luxury spa. Though this wasn't a standard Disney resort, the abandoned buildings would be given a new life as cultural, entertainment, and educational centers, featuring the Disney Design Studio, Disney Pixar Digital and Entertainment Arts Colleges, a university, hospitality schools, and more. Disney wanted to create a whole community similar to Celebration in Florida. The close location to the city made it perfect for easy access from both roads and public transport. This would be a global vacation destination that would put Australia on the Disney map. For Review Time, I'm Dominic Lacey, and this is the story of Disney Wharf at Sydney Harbour. Back in 2007, Disney Wharf at Sydney Harbour remained a secret under the codename Project Lester. Disney was under new management, with CEO Bob Iger taking over from Michael Eisner in 2005. Iger was right to keep the project secret, as Eisner had a habit of oversharing projects that never came to be, and would ultimately damage the reputation of the company because of this. Together with the New South Wales government, Disney cautiously laid down the plans in a 43-page, 10,000-word document outlining the entirety of Disney Wharf at Sydney Harbour. Disney Wharf was an entirely new venture for Disney. The project was trying to break Disney out of their traditional theme park bounds, but apply similar tactics of storytelling through architecture, unique experiences, and lively atmosphere in a more communal setting. The idea of Disney Wharf was to integrate itself amongst Sydney, almost more as a functioning suburb than a theme park. Set in a bustling urban waterfront environment, steeped in history and overlooking beautiful Sydney Harbour, Disney Wharf is an exciting showcase for new ideas, innovative technology, entertainment, and creativity. People live, work, and play in Disney Wharf. The project consistently reflects on 3 words: live, work, play. These were the core of Disney Wharf at Sydney Harbour. Disney Wharf was separated into various sections based on their purpose. Disney Wharf Town Centre and the Disney Wharf Boardwalk were 2 distinct areas of the Disney Wharf project that would be mostly dedicated to dining, shopping, recreation, and accommodation. Disney Wharf Town Centre was the heart of the community at Disney Wharf. It would feature a vibrant community hub with a rich mix of media companies, shops, businesses, and residences, and would make use of the abandoned White Bay Power Station. The power station would be home to an ESPN zone, the Australian Sports Hall of Fame, and apartments for residents to live in. In a similar sense, the Disney Wharf Boardwalk was dedicated more to the tourists, featuring many of the hotels and resorts. The environment of Disney Wharf would feature several traditional hotels and resorts for tourists to stay at whilst they either explore the wharf itself or the greater area of Sydney. It was also aimed at providing people with residential opportunities aimed at creative individuals, as Disney wanted to promote the idea that Disney Wharf was an arts and entertainment community. There were 4 hotels mapped out, featuring both short and long-term stay options. There would be Disney's Yacht Club Family Resort, a luxury resort heavily inspired by the Yacht Club Resort at Walt Disney World. The Disney Village, an upscale residential arts community in the hearts of Disney Wharf. Disney's Bayfront Tower, a luxury mixed-use property for tourism residents with a focus on urban living, and Disney's Grand Australian Hotel. Following the trend of the Grand Californian and Floridian, the Grand Australian celebrates the beauty and grandeur of the Australian continent, its culture, rich historical legacy, and people. Ironically, while celebrating Australia, this hotel would most likely cater towards non-Australians, with specifically overtly Australian-themed restaurants, Australian art and artifacts featured throughout the hotel, as well as the ability to visit native koalas and penguins, something that wouldn't exactly interest most Australians. The rest of the resorts are what you'd expect from Disney, with themed shopping, restaurants, and spas. Disney were focused on creating a vibrant community amongst the bustling boardwalk and town centre for both locals and visitors. Community initiatives include public parks, jogging paths, the expansive boardwalk, the vibrant town centre, and the Disney Wharf marketplace. The setting was meant to be as practical as it was entertaining, with an example of the local bookstore featuring a daily storyteller for mums with toddlers, a busy indoor-outdoor marketplace with food, flour, and cheese vendors, and street artists, part of a vibrant artist-in-residence program, showcase their masterpieces along the avenue. Along the boardwalk itself would be outdoor cafes, restaurants, neighborhood parks, trendy boutiques, a marina, the hotels, and a luxury spa. The boardwalk would also feature Epcot World Showcase-style food and wine, music, and entertainment festivals, which would bring out locals and tourists all year long. And everyone who lived at Disney Wharf required somewhere to work. Career opportunities for locals would benefit both Disney and the Australian technology, arts, and entertainment fields, with the introduction of Disney Pixar Studios Australia, Disney Imagineering Creativity Centre, and a plethora of opportunities behind the operation of the wharf itself. Disney described the wharf as an incubator for new talent, and its dedication to the arts and entertainment is definitely impressive. Talented school and university groups, as well as individuals, would have the opportunity to perform at Disney's Theatre District in front of large, appreciative crowds. Disney's Theatre District was one of the distinct areas of the wharf that aimed to mirror the bustle and entertainment of New York's Times Square and Broadway areas. The heart of the district was the Hyperion Theatre, which would be home to Disney's theatrical presentations, such as Finding Nemo the Musical, Tarzan, and Beauty and the Beast. It's explicitly noted that these aren't the Broadway versions of the productions, and that they'd be more reminiscent of what you'd find in a Disney park or on the Disney cruise lines, with shortened versions of the shows often limited to a maximum of 45 minutes. The purpose of this would most likely be for a higher turnaround of guests and to appeal to school excursion groups. Similarly to Times Square, the district would also feature international restaurants, unique clubs, themed dinner theaters, and bars similar to what's on offer at Disney Springs in Florida and Disney Village in Paris. With a dedication to architectural design, storytelling, and symbolism, Disney was ready to take their shot at creating a Sydney icon to go alongside the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. The Point, as it is referred to, is purposefully vague, but the soaring architectural symbol would take its place as the next generation architectural jewel on the Sydney Harbour. It's interesting to imagine what might have been the next icon for Sydney, especially looking at the various icons that have been created for the parks over the years, like the Disney Sea icon in California. The Point would also feature a large outdoor amphitheatre, which would allow popular and cultural performers from Australia and around the world to showcase their talents, as well as the best in Australian and international culinary expertise with its world-class restaurants. Nestled in between The Point and the Disney Wharf Town Centre was Fantasia Gardens. These gardens would serve as the interior central promenade for the wharf, connecting the several areas together, and would be home to live performers, artists, and a spectacular water display. Similar to the boardwalk, the area would also feature World Showcase-style signature events, such as Food and Wine, Festival of the Arts, and holiday events. The centerpiece of the gardens would be a fanciful carousel adorned with Disney characters. A lot of the information so far may suggest that this was simply an expanded downtown Disney experience without a Disney theme park attached. However, A further look shows the distinct separation which makes the project seem more like an amalgamation of the two ideas. For the first time since the 1964 World's Fair, Disney was prepared to feature their attractions outside of a Disney park, featuring a small selection of rides such as Peter Pan's Flight, Soaring Over Australia, and Toy Story Midway Mania. Visitors would be able to get a taste of the magic offered at the full-scale Disney resorts. Because there's no preset boundaries defined by a theme park, these attractions would be placed through the wharf in different sections appropriate to their theme, such as the Point housing Soaring Over Australia, and Midway Mania being a highlight of the Disney Pixar experience, a museum-like venture through Pixar technology and creativity. These attractions fueled the rumors that this project was actually a Disneyland, but the way in which they're showcased around the wharf suggests that Disney was prepared to feature their world-class attractions in an entirely new way, and a way which we have never seen Disney do since. Lacking the traditional ticket-gated monetization method, Disney needed to reinvent the way in which they'd profit from the wharf. Tracks of Experiences was a work-in-progress title for the new way in which Disney would make this profit. Instead of making all guests pay the same single-priced entry tickets, Disney would create packages in which guests could purchase that would map out their day at the wharf based on their interests and demographic factors. There were 9 predetermined tracks, ranging from toddlers to seniors to thrill seekers, with a spotlight on school groups for excursions and field trips. It seemed that they had everything thought out, and that Disney were ready to take on the new frontier of the Southern Hemisphere. Disney Wharf at Sydney Harbour was bound to be an immense project. But immensity doesn't come cheap. It was estimated that for the infrastructure alone, the New South Wales government would need to invest close to $500 million into the project. You can understand the skepticism that the government would have placed upon Disney when a lot of the benefits for the Disney Wharf project were for the high-end society. With an emphasis on luxury, many lower and middle-class taxpayers would have been priced out of something that their taxes in part paid to build. And that's not including the cost of the wharf itself for Disney, which would be estimated in the billions of dollars. At a time when Disney were already throwing around that sort of money on expansions to their current resorts, including the $1 billion fix-up for DCA, I can't imagine that they'd have much left over for this ambitious idea. And thus, the Disney Wharf project document remains the very last public evidence of Disney wanting to bring the resort experience to Australia. From the Gold Coast Disneyland to Disney Wharf, we've come so close to some great experiences. One source who looked closely at the project commented it was a fabulous site, close to the city, and instead of more multi-million-dollar apartments, we thought, why not look at something potentially more interesting? But in the end, it was difficult to get detailed proposals from Disney in writing, and there was always doubt over whether it could work. In Australia, Disney feels like a world away. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, but it would be great to have some experiences to help tide us over. Though it begs the question, would the existence of Disney Wharf take away from the magic of Disney and the potential of Australians wanting to visit the international parks? It's important to note that this concept was blue sky thinking. Whilst a lot of thought and planning would have gone into it, it was barely practical. By the time you factor in budgets and engineering limitations, many ideas would fade away, whilst others would take the limelight. But it still would have been exciting to have seen the Disney Wharf we would have ended up with, and to get a slice of the Disney experience a little bit closer to home. Some may wonder what the purpose is to focus on something so rudimentary. A central theme around many of our history videos is exploring the what if. They provide an opportunity to think outside of the box, and imagine how different the Disney experience we know and love could be. Even though this specific project was featured in Sydney, there's no reason why Disney couldn't have such a project in many major cities around the world, perhaps even closer to yourself. I believe Walt Disney said it best himself. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things, because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. For Review Time, I'm Dominic Lacey. Thanks for watching.